Hello and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this session on updates to FDM and FEM. Thank you for taking the time to join us today and for your commitment to advancing environmental sustainability within our industry. As you know, the Higg FEM, the Facility Environmental Module, continues to play a vital role in shaping how we measure and improve our environmental performance. With each update, it evolves to address emerging challenges, refine methodologies, and align more closely with global standards. Today, we will explore the latest changes in the Higg FEM framework, what they mean for your operations, and how they can help you make more impactful strides toward environmental excellence. So let's dive into the updates that are transforming the way we approach sustainability and why they matter now more than ever. And I hope you can hear me well. Otherwise, perhaps you can just send a chat message if it's not possible to hear me well, or a confirmation that you can hear me. Thank you. So my name is Karen Ekberg, and I'm the CEO and also the founder of Leadership and Sustainability. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year, towards the end of last year. And I'm really pleased to work in this company. We are Higg FEM verifiers. We are also trainers. We're FSLM verifiers. We do a lot of BCI, better cotton audits, and many other things as well, also strategy projects. Just some information and some basics about the Zoom webinar platform. So at first, it's important to know that you will actually be muted during this webinar. We have quite a big audience here today, and it is important to ensure the best audio quality. But you can please feel free to send us questions during the presentation. And if you could please send them via the question function, so not via the chat function. So you open up at the bottom here, you should be able to see the Q&A button. You open that up and then you can send off your question to us. And in a follow-up email, you will receive both the presentation as a PDF and the recording of this webinar. And now, the agenda for today. So I will give you an overview of the Higg FEM 4.0 cadence for 2025, and we will also speak about the facility data management tool, and then we will speak a bit about the changes between the FEM 2024 and the FEM 2025, and then we will have time for your questions as well, and a final note before we close. So what are the benefits for an organization by adopting Higg FEM? So for risk mitigation, it helps organizations proactively identify and address environmental risks, such as resource scarcity or non-compliance with regulations, reducing potential financial and reputational damages. It also enhances sustainability, aligns business practices with global sustainability standards, boosting eco-friendly operations. Cost savings. It identifies inefficiencies in resource use, leading to cost reductions in energy, water, and waste management. And we know that all of them actually have their low-hanging fruits, where you can save costs if you can reduce your energy consumption, for example. And we also have an improved regulatory compliance. So the Higg FEM requires facilities to report on permits and expiry, and requires also facilities to have a system to monitor and update regulatory requirements. And this is, of course, the basics of a successful operation of a facility today. Data-driven decision-making. The FEM and also the FDM, of course, provides organizations with a detailed and measurable insights into your environmental impact, enabling informed strategies and prioritization of sustainability initiatives to maximize efficiency and impact. So with all the data that you are collecting via the Higg FDM and FEM, you are actually in a position to reduce your energy consumption, set really great goals, and the same, of course, for water, wastewater, waste. And then we also have transparency and credibility. So the Higg FEM builds trust with stakeholders by showcasing a commitment to sustainability through verified data and in improved regulatory compliance with ensuring adherence to also evolving environmental regulations and industry requirements. And I believe that the annual verification that you have of the Higg FEM is really also a very strong sign that you on a regular basis have a good performance. Compared to having a verification only every 3 years, 3 years is a really long time period. A lot can happen. And what we see is that facilities that are verified, let's say only every 3rd year, there is like a slope downwards in between the two verifications. So the best approach is really to have this annual verification, the annual reporting that we have in the Higg FDM and FEM, and make sure that you also always improve your performance, of course. And then we also have competitive advantage, positions the organizations as a leader in sustainability, appealing to conscious consumers and partners, and of course, to the brands that are working for you. Supply chain collaboration promotes also shared accountability and improvement across supply chain partners. So let me now give you an overview of the Higg FEM cadence. So first, a brief overview about the organizations behind this. So between 2018 and 2021, the Sustainable Apparel Coalition received significant feedback on Higg facility environmental module. That was at that time the FEM 3.0, covering aspects like content, guidance, scoring, applicability, and user interface. And due to the commitment that each version of the Higg FEM lasts for 3 to 5 years, the SEC couldn't immediately address the feedback received. But then they did that, and you can see here also today, we are not speaking about Sustainable Apparel Coalition again, that was the old name. Today we have the name of Cascale. And Cascale is a global non-profit alliance empowering collaboration to drive equitable and restorative business practices in the consumer goods industry. And then on the other hand, we also have Wordly. And Wordly is the sustainability data and analytics platform for the consumer goods industry, actually the leading platform empowering brands, retailers, and manufacturers to turn primary data into strategic action. And if for those of you who have been around for a long time when, for example, Sustainable Apparel Coalition was founded, you will know that from the very beginning, the idea with the Higg Index was to make sure that you have like a ladder to climb on so that you can always improve your performance. And so that is also what the Wordly platform. So Wordly is basically the software where all the Cascale tools are hosted. And you can see there are over 40,000 companies across apparel, footwear. We also have home furnishing there today, sporting goods. We have outdoor. We have hard goods as well. So the tool is really very valuable, the Higg FEM, but also, for example, the BRM and SLCP can be applied actually in any sector, I would say. The environmental approach and the social approach in a facility are very similar, independent of the type of sector. For the FEM and for the environmental work in a factory, of course, the environmental impact depends a lot on the type of processes you have. And that's the big difference. For social, it's more the health and safety aspects that might differ from factory type to factory type. But all the other elements can be applied in the same way. And then the Higg Index itself is a suite of tools for the measurement of value chain sustainability. So the Higg index is owned by Cascale, but it has been implemented on the Wordly platform. And also on top of that, Wordly, being a very ambitious software platform, a software provider and data manager and analytics platform, they have also added a few additional tools to support the process of brands to engage with their factories and their facilities, but also, for example, with the product impact calculator, calculating carbon emissions. But okay, let's stay with the Higg facility environmental module today. So the FEM 4.0 that we have now, I think it is the third year now, is improved from Higg FEM 3.0. And the work to develop the Higg FEM 4.0 really started already mid-2020 to address various aspects that have been raised and noticed during the work with the FEM 3.0. And the FEM 4.0 is an expanded tool compared to Higg FEM 3.0. It aligns also with recent industry standards and with best practices. And we have here also the documentation available. You can click on those links and then you can find the documentation related to the Higg FEM 4.0. And here now we have the 2025 Higg FEM cycle. Yes, we are in 2026, but the FEM module that you are working in right now is called FEM 2025. Why is that? Well, it's because we cover the calendar year of 2025. So all the data that you upload there, quantitative data, etc., should be applied to the calendar year of 2025. Many other questions related to waste handling, waste storage, etc. These questions should then, at least during the verification, be checked for during the verification period. So obviously during a verification, we cannot see what happened in your factory in October 2025. We are just looking at what is happening right now during the day or days when we are visiting your factory. And so the cycle here is you have right now been able, since end of October, you have been able to purchase the Higg FEM and the verified module modules. And you can complete the self-assessment now, actually until the end of the year, as long as you have the module. But it is recommended that you complete it by April 30. And it is also depending on how much you want to unpost or post again, etc. So you have an unlimited posting, unposting possibility of your self-assessment. We are not talking about the verified module. We are talking about the self-assessment. You can post your Higg FEM self-assessment throughout the year, and you can unpost and repost your module for 60 days following your initial posting. So if you have on April 1, you post the first time, then you have time until June 1 or perhaps May 31st or so to post and unpost. But after that, you cannot unpost again. So that's important. So once you post, you should really have everything complete. The module requires you to have all the questions responded to, but as you know, there are also quite a lot of documents that should be uploaded during the self-assessment, and then make sure, please, that you do that before you post the module. And then you can go into the verification, and that you can conduct the verification until the end of the year. What is really important is that if you are planning to work with the Higg FEM 2025, you need to buy the module before end of October this year. After that, the FEM 2026 will be available. So the FEM 2025 is only available until end of October, so that's important. And another thing I really want to remind you, and that is towards end of November, December, we usually go into the Wordly platform and have a look at which facilities that were verified and if they have also posted their Verify module. And there are usually hundreds of facilities. We are quite a big FEM verifier, so we are conducting lots of verifications. But even towards the end of the year, many facilities haven't posted their verified module. So we keep reminding those facilities, but fact is that is your responsibility as a facility. Make sure you finalize and post your verified module before December 31st. After that, there is no way back. If it is not posted by then, there is nothing more you can do or we can do to support that. So please remember that, put that into your calendar already. And of course, as soon if your verification ends in April, then please go and post your module then in April. And we also know that many of your business partners, the brands and retailers, they are asking you to complete your verification, perhaps already in March or April or quite early in the year. All right, and here we now see the overview of all the different sections. I know that everyone knows these by heart. What is also important to know is that we have 3 different levels in the Higg FEM: level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is the basic. It's about awareness and basic management. Level 2 moves on, set targets, implementation, and also measures the achievements. And then at level 3, we are asking about leading practices and community engagement. And at level 1, you can reach 25 points. At level 2, you can reach 50 points. And at level 3, you can reach 25 points. There is one exception here, and that is if you are a small water user and not located in a risk region, so with a water scarcity. In that case, you actually can reach the 100 points already at level 1, because you will only have a very few questions in the water section. And now the verification, and here are again some information, some links to the protocols, etc. So for the Higg FEM 2025, the verification scope continues to be level 1, similarly to what it was last year, or equal to what it was last year. We will cover all questions at level 1. And for facilities that are not achieving level 1 in your self-assessment in the sections, you can still move on to levels 2 and 3. You will be asked a question, would you like to continue responding? And then you can say yes, and then these next questions at levels 2 and 3 will open up for you, even if you didn't respond with yes or partially yes to all questions at level 1. Previously, that gate was closed, but now it has been opened for you. You will still not score at levels 2 and 3 unless you are able to move on really by your own force. But I would really encourage everyone to continue with levels 2 and 3. The levels 2 with the target setting, implementation, action planning, and also follow-up is really important. Please take that to heart, that we are really looking for an improvement and driving improvements in the factories and in the environmental performance. And then the FEM foundations is all aligned with level 1, so it's basically the same thing right now. We used to differentiate between generalist and chemical specialist verifiers. This differentiation is still available. There, for example, I'm a chemical specialist verifier, but for the verifications taking place right now, all generalist verifiers can conduct all verifications. So there is no additional requirement that you need to be a chemical specialist in order to verify now. And how the scores are calculated? Well, after you have done the verification, the only level 1 has been verified. But you still might have, if you have been able to move on to levels 2 and 3, you will have scores at levels 2 and 3. And then so your total score will be a combination of your verified score at level 1 and your self-assessment scores at levels 2 and 3. And now let me talk also about the FDM, the Facility Data Manager. And I guess that all of you know that the FDM is actually included in the package when you buy the Higg FEM. So the features of the data collection is that you can roll forward the qualitative data from the previous cadence, and you can do that in your FEM. But also, if you have quantitative data in your FDM, you can import it into the FEM module. And the FDM is integrated with the Higg FEM, and that already started last year. So you will have the same data set in the FDM as you have in the quantitative sections of the FEM. And you will be able to import the FDM data directly into the Higg FEM if you have the 12 months of data in your FDM. So you need to have that, and then you need to finish that, the FDM, and then you can roll it into the FEM. The FDM allows you to collect the data on a monthly basis. And I can only encourage you to do that, because if you have a habit that you need to repeat every month, it's much easier to remember, it's much easier to build a good data quality management system around monthly reporting. So the quality will increase if you can do a monthly reporting. And now let's speak also about the changes from the FEM 2024 to the FEM 2025 cadence. What we need to say is there have not been a lot of significant changes. There have been some adjustments, 1 or 2 more new questions, but then also some new sub-questions and some additional guidance or new guidance to the questions. So let me walk you through here. So for the site info and permit, the changes 2025 are that you have actually a new facility type split for finished product processing. Last year, we had only finished product processing covering any type of finished product processing, but right now it has been separated. And I'll just check. I think we have some questions here. Let me just check if we have some questions. Yeah, I have some comments. I will go to them later. Thank you. And so the differentiation was needed here because for finished product processing, where you have pieces that are produced or finished, like printed, painting, embroidery, etc., you need to have a unit of measure for the production in pieces or pairs. But for product dyeing, product laundering, and product finishing, you need kilograms. So therefore, they have now differentiated this. So there are it's like one more facility type. So you need to consider that when you respond to the Higg FEM. So for example, if you are rolling over your results from FEM 2024, you need to make sure that you indicate the correct one here. And that was also based on feedback that we have received, or Cascale has received from the users. And then previously, this is what it looked like previously. And now let me also give you some more information here. So regarding the permits, if your facility's operating license is expired, even if your facility is in the process of updating your operating license, In that case, this question will score 0 points for the entire FEM. So previously there was some leeway around that, but if you don't have a valid operating license, you will score 0 for your entire FEM. You can still complete the entire module, but you will score 0. And then, of course, if you have more than one facility type, you also need to indicate that. So don't select like one of your choice. You should always be represented to 100% with the facility types that you choose. And then you will also need to insert, of course, all the information accordingly. And then for site info, there is one question with added guidance. And so this is about certifications and testing requirements that do not fall within the environmental assessment and audit question scope. And the question is the number 7. Has your facility undergone any environmental assessment or audit within the reporting year in addition to a Higg verification, Higg FEM verification? And here it's important for you to know that management system audits, ISO 14001, or for environment or for energy, the ISO 50001, are not allowed to be added here. And so you should not add these here. You have another space, another question that covers those audits. That's important. There have been some confusion on that side. And then regarding the permits, the question number 1 has been rephrased to align with the updated time ordinance tags for these questions. So the question is, does your factory site have a current and valid operating license if required by law? So we are not checking, did you have it in 2025, valid for the entire year 2025? We are actually checking that you have a valid operating license today during the verification. And the time ordinance, this is about the questions that are valid for the entire calendar year 2025. Like, for example, all your quantitative data is relevant for the year of 2025. But as I mentioned, how your waste is sorted and handled, how chemicals are stored, etc., this will always be verified based on the present situation, that is why we have that time ordinance differentiation. And then also the question number 2 here, does your facility have any unresolved or outstanding government-issued environmental violation records? So previous years, the question was related only to the past years. So at that time, it would have been then FEM 2020 or the calendar year 2024. But now we are asking about any unresolved or outstanding government-issued environmental violation records. If you have something that happened 2 years ago and you have resolved it, and there is no open issue or no open follow-up related to that, then you can answer no here. But if you have any topic, it might even be 5 years old and hasn't been resolved, you should respond yes here. And that is the change has just been done in order to better reflect the intent of the question. And because we really want to know, do you have any issues today? Good. And now an overview of the EMS, the Environmental Management System levels. And you can see here level 1 has 11 questions. At level 2, you have another 3. And at level 3, you have another 3. And there have been no big changes. There is no additional question in this section. But there have been some questions that have been receiving added guidance. So the question 7 has now some added guidance. And the question is, does your facility provide training to employees on environmental awareness and company environmental management strategy. And now the intent of this question is that all employees at minimum have received training on environmental awareness and company environmental management strategy, but it does not need to be provided annually. So previously the question was more geared towards having annual trainings. The recommendation is at least every 2 to 3 years, but as I said, and you need to have it once. So if you have new employees coming that you are onboarding, you need to have them go through the training. And then for the EMS, there has also been a change to the applicability question. So if your facility has a documented environmental strategy in place that sets forth environmental priorities and includes defined goals and actions for 3 years or longer, you should select all topics covered by this strategy. And now let's go on to the energy and greenhouse gas section. This is one of the tougher sections, I would say. And you can see here what the questions at level 1, 2, and 3. And you see that there are some updated sub-questions and also one new question there. So the changes, and this is related to the energy attribute certificates and the power purchase agreements. So there is one updated sub-question. Is the greenhouse gas emission factor of your purchased heating specifically known because it is communicated by your supplier of purchased heating? And then is the greenhouse gas emission factor of your purchased renewables specifically known because it is communicated by your supplier of purchased renewables? And so this is just in order to add clarification, in order to make sure that the energy selections are correct, but also to know if there are greenhouse gas emission factors available that are then specific to what you are actually buying. And then there is one new question added for applicability. Does your company have any owned and controlled vehicles? And this is just a question in order to really show that now we are moving over and asking about owned and controlled vehicles, because previously it was not so clear in the flow of all these questions in the energy section that the questions were related to owned and controlled vehicles, or respectively that the first question about the energy consumption for stationary equipment was not related to owned and controlled vehicles. So it's just in order to separate more clearly. And in this case, actually, the comparability with the Higg FEM 2024 has been slightly affected for some energy sources. And of course, the grid emission factors. So the grid emission factors are the emission factors for the electricity that you are buying. Has also been updated based on the IEA annual grid emission factors. And now here we also have some more small changes. So the annual volume, energy and water consumption reported by the facility type, but then the questions added on energy attribute certificates, carbon offsets, coal phase out, etc. And we have some improved categorization also of the refrigerant gases. And I will not go further into the energy section today, but I can really encourage you to go to the How to Higg and look at the different scenarios. So if you are buying renewable energy, or if you have energy attribute certificates, it's very important that you respond correctly. You need to know when you should be responding by electricity, for example, purchased electricity, and when you should be responding by purchased renewables. So please go, if you have these situations, please go into the How to Higg, look at the different scenarios, and make sure that you respond correctly here. It's really important also for the calculation of your carbon emissions. Moving over to water, you can see here there's not so much that has been changed, but there are some small things. So there is one question with additional guidance added on the rejected water pretreatment question. Does the water consumption you track and report include the rejected water quantity from pretreatment? And this question applies only to facilities that have indicated that pretreatment of incoming water occurs on site in the site info section. And the rejected water is defined as any water that is treated in the facility's incoming water pretreatment process, but is then discarded due to its undesired properties. For example, if you are using an RO, reversed osmosis treatment system, at the entrance of the factory, and then because the brine, the concentrated flow out of the RO system has a very high concentration of salts or even other contaminants, and so you cannot use it. So that is an additional question. And then also there are some more details related to completing level 2 and 3 questions for facilities that are considered as low water user. And just a summary, groundwater management and usage questions have been added, and there have also been added one rainwater harvesting question. And now let's move on to wastewater. And there is actually one new question, and that is at level 2. And that is the question about compliance with microfiber parameters. You know that since many years we are debating and discussing and researching about microfiber pollution. And so that is the reason that this question has been added here. And now what has been changed? There is also some scoring rules changed. So, but this is now at level 2. The question 21, if you reported against ZTHC wastewater guidelines, did your facility test your wastewater and meet foundational level conventional parameters? And then also question 22, if you reported against ZTHC wastewater guidelines, did your facility test your wastewater and meet foundational level heavy metal limits in the reporting year? And question 23, very similar, did your facility test and meet MRSL parameter requirements in the reporting year? And these questions are applicable to facilities that are reporting against the ZTHC wastewater guidelines. This is clear, it's all related to the ZTHC wastewater guidelines. And now there is this new question, microfiber parameters. Question 24, if you reported against ZTHC wastewater guidelines, did your facility test your wastewater and meet foundational limits for microfiber parameters? Yes. And then, of course, this question is also only available if you report against the ZTHC wastewater guidelines. All right. And so just an overview again. So there have been some questions added on on-site wastewater biological treatment and wastewater sludge management, and also the definition of wastewater sludge. So it is important for you as a facility to know the different sources of sludge and the general composition of sludge to ensure the most effective treatment and disposal options are used. So the composition of sludge can vary depending on the composition of the wastewater and the processes used for its treatment. In general, sludge contains water, organic and inorganic materials and solids. And very often the sludge from the wastewater is considered being a toxic waste, a hazardous waste. Moving on to air emissions. Also quite empty of bold questions here, so no new questions, but there have been some changes, I believe. Let me go to here. Yes, so yeah, but this was actually the change from in FEM 2024 already, that the air section at that time was significantly revamped. And now for waste, there is also no new question, but the waste section is very long. And here again, it's really important that you have all your quantitative data available. and your invoices and receipts and measurements and records, etc. It's the same for the energy, the water, and the waste section, that we have a lot of quantitative reporting also at level 1. And during the verification, we need to see all those records. And actually, for the quantitative data, we will ask you to send us these records even before the verification, so we can have a look at them and see if there are big issues or many. It might also be some calculations we need to do in order to calculate the sum based on your monthly invoices, etc. So that is an important piece, and I really ask you to focus on making sure that you have a good data quality management system. There is also one question about that. So it's really important that you have a good data quality management system in place, covering everything about the procedure, who is doing what, how are you collecting the data, if you have to make estimations, how are you doing those estimations, etc. But you know that we usually don't like estimations very much when it comes to quantitative data. We really preferred measured data. It may be your own metering or recording, or it might also be coming from the invoices that you receive from your providers. So the waste management changes, there is one question with additional guidance added on frequency of training required for employees. Does your facility provide awareness training to employees regarding segregation of waste? And the intent of this question is that all employees at minimum have received training on waste segregation, but it does not need to be on an annual basis. So this is exactly as the previous training question we had. It doesn't need to be on an annual basis. And here is also an overview. And just to be clear, this is a description of the changes that were made in the FEM 2024. So you have probably already seen them last year. And now coming to the chemicals management section, a lot of questions, as you know, even at level 1, and some of them are quite challenging. Please work on that to make sure. We often see that the RSL and the MRSL differentiation is not always clear for the facilities, what the difference are, and also how to handle them. RSA failure resolution, the last question, the question number 18 at level 1, is also one that is quite challenging often. And there is also one question with additional information on chemicals to be included in the chemical inventory list. Does your facility implement an MRSL? And then if you say yes, you will now be asked to respond for several options: the customer's MRSL, the ZTHC MRSL, the blue sign BSSL, or if there is any other. And then also regarding the changes that were made already in the Higg FEM 2024, there were some questions repositioned. It's important to establish an effective chemicals management system and to establish responsible chemical purchasing practices, focusing on the reduction of hazardous chemical usage. And here you can now see we have some additional resources for you. And there is also something new in the Wordly platform. So you have the How to Higg online at Cascale. You can click on this link. There is also an How to Higg PDF version. There is on the Wordly platform, there is also one Q&A, but online in the tool, you can now see the guidance to most questions. There is guidance available. So you open up at this question mark where you can read view guidance, and then comes an explanation to that question. And very often, for example, if you have questions that can be responded with yes, partial yes or no, there is also a clear differentiation for when you can respond yes and when you can respond partial yes, or when you have to respond no. So please open up that. It's much easier today because you can really just click on that, and then you can immediately read the additional guidance. There is also the Wordly assistant. And for many questions, you can actually also open this up. And if you open or click there, you will have a text box where you can add your question. So you can write your question, and the Wordly platform will search in available resources that they have from the How to Higg, from their own Q&A, etc., and will seek to respond to this. Caution, the artificial intelligence, as you know, doesn't always deliver the perfect responses. So you need to use your intellect and your brain as well. And if you are unsure, you should really go to the How to Higg, because the How to Higg is the ultimate guidance to all the questions. Great. And now I just wanted to say a few words about leadership and sustainability, and then we will take your questions. And so here on this map, you can see where we have people located. And here on this slide, you can also see that we have a lot of FEM experts in many different countries. And so we are available to support you in many countries, and would be really pleased to do so. And we also have a learning platform. So we have, for example, one, I see I have written a comment here as well. Okay. But we have one course for the Higg FEM 4.0, and it has been updated for the FEM 2025. So you can enroll there if you want to learn more about the different questions. And here you can see some of our team members. We are around 80 people today globally. Wonderful. Thank you to everyone who joined this session. I hope it added some value for you. And I wish you all the best for the completion of your self-assessment and for your improvements as well in your factory. And I wish you a great rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.